Good morning, this is the Desert Shaman. Well, I got quite a few comments on my last video that I did, so it's obviously striking a chord, and I thought I would follow up. First of all, I want to say thank you for all those comments. Two Stroke Smoke, and I think Victoria Carr, Rick Zisk, and others commenting on my last video, okay, which indicated to me that it's almost like a chat, okay. I don't really do chat, but it's kind of like a chat, so I thought I'd follow up on some of the comments. Now, some other things that I may want to add to that last video is what's going on a technological level, okay, as far as our consciousness or our reality or our worldview or the illusion and the delusion, what we are seeing and feeling is being manipulated, all right? It's being highly manipulated. So let's focus in on the weather, because quite a few people commented on the weather part. Some mentioned high winds. Well, that really resonated with me, because there have been extremely high winds where I'm located. For the last 3-4 years, it's been off the charts. It's like one or 2 days you'll be fine, or you might have 3 or 4 days or 2 days of what I would call normal weather. Then all of a sudden you get these winds coming in, and high winds, and the weather changes radically, okay? Now I understand the gradient thing with, because I was a weatherman once, had to study for a weather test when I put in a weather station for an airport, which I was manager of the station there. I understand how gradients can happen, how there can be occluded fronts and hot fronts and cold fronts, and the two can collide. And when one front moves in, another one could replace it. And when that happens, there's winds because there's a gradient there. Okay, so when you're going from a high pressure to a low pressure, you might get some winds or some breezes or whatever, and the change will come in, and you'll be experiencing a different weather pattern. Here's the thing, though. This isn't the normal. And I can tell you right now, this isn't the normal gradient or the normal transition from a cold front to a hot front, or from a high pressure to a low pressure. This is not the normal deal, okay? What happens is that the wind gets radical. It gets severe, okay? Then you will have, the next front, or the cold front, or the high pressure or the low pressure come in. But during this time, it's blowing and blowing and blowing, okay? Almost like a solar wind or some ungodly wind, right? So I don't know if that's what you're experiencing. I think it was Two Stroke Smoke in South Dakota or whatever. But that's kind of what's been happening, I'm hearing, in a lot of different places. Extreme changes in weather, extreme, okay? 1 minute it's hot, the next minute it's cold, the next minute it's like super hot, the next minute you got a high pressure that just sits there and sits there and sits there and is intense and is heavy, okay? This is all from technology, okay? This is all from weather modification or some kind of system like the Starlink system. And I mentioned Starlink before. We have like 4,000 satellites being shot up, and there's even more now. I think they want to get it up into the tens of thousands. What are they doing? What are they doing? This is supposedly for a network. This is Elon Musk, okay? This is supposedly for a network of communications, a network of 5G. Well, I found out a long time ago that 5G is very, very harmful. 5G is something the human body doesn't really like, all right? Causes all kinds of problems, mental problems, anxiety, stress, because you got these wavelengths moving through the air, all right? And then you got towers that they put up on Earth that relay back and forth. Now, I've been in radio for years, amongst other things, and I know all about frequencies and radio frequencies and microwave frequencies and all this shit. Now, the old radio waves, like the amateur radio, like ham radio, or even when in the older days when you just had a radio with tubes in it and you received signals, broadcast signals, that was on a very, very different frequency than what we got going now, okay? What we got going now is unearthly. What we got going now is almost to the point, and I'm glad people brought this up, and if you got any comments about this, I'm all ears, okay? Let's keep this dialogue going and find out what's going on here. Actually, I know what's going on, but just to see if there's an agreement here. So when you got these frequencies, what do frequencies do? What are frequencies? What are vibrational radio frequencies? What do they do? Well, they alter the ether. And the ether is not just the air, it's the ether. It's what everything is composed of that exists. It comes out of the ether. So when you got 4,000, and I swear to God, last time I thought I heard them talking about trying to get 40,000 satellites around the Earth. Can you imagine what that would look like? Well, if you looked at a picture of the superimposed satellites around the world, around the Earth, there would hardly be any room in between, any space. That's how much pinpoint places, if you put little pins on there, yellow or blue or whatever, it would cover most of the planet. Would cover most. What are they doing with that? Why are they doing that? 5G communications, and there's this narrative, okay, that, well, we want to be able to reach remote countries. We want to be able to reach every place on the Earth with this new technological system. You can reach every place on the Earth. When I was flying in Hawaiian Islands, when I had to go out to a remote reef somewhere and land on it, we had GPS, and GPS was in its infancy, and it only had I think 3 satellites, and you could triangulate from where you were. You could triangulate off those 3 satellites, and it was a pretty reliable navigation system. In other words, you could be anywhere in the world and you could navigate off these 3 GPS satellites, okay? 3, okay, covered the whole freaking Earth. Not 40,000. And for them to say that you need 4,000 or even 1,000, and 40,000 is outside the realm of comprehension. What we have here is a system that can actually, to me now, I'm not kidding about this, okay? Can actually change reality. Can actually change the ether, change your perception, change your brain waves, okay? Because let's not forget the pineal gland, which is the third eye, is totally magnetic. It's totally magnetic. It's totally sensitive to these kind of things. So when you got all these satellites up there, in the thousands, it's ridiculous. You don't need them. You don't need them for communication systems. You don't need them for anything. Go explain to me why you need them. Show me in logical terms why you need them for an internet. We've had the internet a long time, okay? This is just a blatant lie. That's why I don't trust Elon Musk. I know he comes on like the good guy, and he comes on like some kind of almost savior to the free speech thing through Twitter, because he says, well, you can say anything you want on Twitter. Well, we should have been able to say any fucking thing we wanted on Twitter anyway. It's almost like good cop, bad cop type thing. Now there's, some restrictions coming in on that. But I don't trust anybody that can't reveal to me what exactly they're doing with that many freaking satellites and all these space launches. I mean, I subscribe to space.com and I see launches every freaking day. They launch this, they launch that. This is our Earth, okay? This is Mother Earth. We're supposed to be taking care of Mother Earth as indigenous people. The indigenous ones, and I consider myself an indigenous person because I do have native blood, but you don't even have to have native blood. We're all tribal. We're all, our roots are all indigenous before other influences came in, all right? We all wore beads and headbands or whatever. We all come from a tribal situation, okay? And before Christianity came in, it was called paganism, all right? But it was just people that lived next to the earth, people that were proud of the heritage of being one with the stars and the cosmos and the earth and that type of thing. We've gotten way, way away from that into a technological, ecological, harmful ecological situation. The whole world is covered by a consciousness. You could almost call these Starlink satellites a consciousness. Here's another thing too. Remember the chemtrails? Somebody mentioned that. The chemtrails are there to alter, supposedly to, like the old guys that used to seed clouds from the biplanes, to make rain. Whole different thing. Whole different thing. No electronics involved there. It was rock salt, okay? But their explanation is that they need to help with the weather because of global warming, which is another freaking lie. There's no natural global warming to this degree. They're making the global warming. That's my assessment. Like one comment said in my last video, there seems to be a lot less rain, okay, and more drought. They're drying up the planet with their fucking vibrations, man. Their satellites and their radio beams and then their chemtrails, chemicals. We are being bombarded big time. Okay, and this fits in. Let's get back to what I was saying before about how I look into different scriptures, biblical and otherwise, prophecies, Hopi prophecy, Nostradamus, I mean, any prophecy, any prophets in the Bible, whatever. In the Bible, it says, you shall see signs and portents in the heavens that will blow your mind. Paraphrasing here. You will see signs and portents in the heavens that will actually will be unbelievable. Okay, that could mean a lot of things. Okay, and then the Hopis speak of the web that would surround the world. Okay, like a big spider web surrounding the world, all connected. Okay, they speak of this. Now, many people at first, when they saw these prophecies, they thought, oh, those are the roads or the railways or the telegraph wires or whatever. But I think they were seeing way, way into the future. They were seeing what was coming down the road with these Starlink satellites, okay, communicating everywhere. And they play a big part in the war thing, too. They're used for spying. They have cameras on them, you see. These, why would you need a camera, okay, if this is just for communication purposes for some kind of internet or faster internet or more reliable internet, which is all a fucking lie, okay? Why would you have cameras on every one of these things? And how do we know that this isn't part of also a Star Wars system? Now I've heard stories, okay, that indicate that they can target cities, they can target towns with laser type things from these satellites. They can shoot beams down, even targeted individuals. They call them TIs. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't have proof of that. But when you think about, that the technology that has been developed before now, I mean, let's say even in the SR-71, the Blackbird spy plane that looks like a giant bat out of hell, that's an old spy plane. I mean, they got stuff way beyond that now. But even in that spy plane, the old spy plane, they had cameras that could photograph a dime, okay, on the ground and tell you what the date on the dime was, all right? Sounds far-fetched, but it's true. So if they had that stuff back then, you interpolate and you figure out, well, they got 4,000 satellites with cameras. Probably on these satellites, they also have some type of weaponry or laser beam. Now, when you get back to the chemtrails, when you get back to how, those seem to have slacked off a bit since the Starlink system went up. So is the Starlink a replacement for the damage that they fucking do to the planet and to the people on the planet? Is the Starlink, we got the Starlink now, so we don't need so many chemtrails. We don't need to, people are getting wise to it, so we'll just go one step beyond that. And it's always been about radio beams. I mean, weather modification is well known to have been developed into a system called HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, I think it is, HAARP, where they have these antenna farms, acres and acres of antenna farms, in Alaska and in different places, where they beam up radio beams, or they shoot off radio beams in different directions, and they can even push the ionosphere. Now, the ionosphere is kind of like the protective environment for Mother Earth. They can push that up and snap it back down, okay, which causes damage to it, okay. They can push it up with radio beams and let go with the radio beam, and it snaps back down and can cause an earthquake. So they can do targeted earthquakes. I think that's what happened in Turkey and in other places as well. Now, you might say, well, if they wanted to do, if they had this stuff, why wouldn't they target Russia? Or why, since there's a war with Russia, why wouldn't they target Russia? Or why wouldn't they do this? Or why wouldn't they do that? Well, because Russia has the same technology, and they have a defensive technology. Okay, some countries may not be that far advanced, like Turkey or whatever, but still, they can trigger volcanic eruptions. They can trigger earthquakes by pushing up this ionosphere, and then, boom, it's snapping back and sending shock waves down into the earth. This is called weather wars. This is called weather wars. So what we have here is all kinds of technology that is off the charts, and not to mention, but stuff coming right through the computer, okay? Stuff coming right through the computer, right through your cell phone. Fucking with your brain waves and your nervous system and your everything, okay? And your pineal gland. The pineal gland, the third eye, is how you see things from a higher level, okay? If they get somehow some kind of technology, about that, and this is about that, obviously, well, then you're going to start having problems. You could even get dizzy. There's all kinds of things that can happen, okay? We got all kinds of things going on here. So I'm just pulling out all the stops and saying that the war that I was talking about that's happening on a higher level, who's in control of this higher level? Who's in control of this higher level? What's happening on these higher levels, okay? And like I say, there's myriads of stories, but it doesn't matter what's happening on this higher level. It's all the same story. Whether it's archons or demons or different narratives or whatever, these are all just a distraction. These are all just stories. They're all belief systems. It's getting out of control, okay? And that's why I say that there's a quickening. They could be causing, somebody mentioned in the last comment that it seemed like time was slowing down or speeding up. Well, that's happening too. There's a time-space continuum here. There's something going on with stretching time, or your perception of time and space. Mostly time, though, mostly linear time, where they can actually stretch time and shrink time, okay? Just remember, time is nothing more than a perception, and if they can fuck with perception, so we've gotten way beyond like, oh, we're polluting the planet, or all the industry is dumping waste into the streams, and our exhaust is causing global warming, and now they're even saying that cows farting. Okay, that you couldn't make this shit up. Cows farting affect the ozone layer? No, it's them affecting the ozone layer. I mean, people will buy anything. People will buy into anything. Cows farting? What about people farting? What about horses farting? What about frogs farting? I mean, you could go on and on and on with this shit. And people are so fucking stupid that they buy it. Now the cows farting thing, I mean, even saying that is almost comical. It's almost ridiculous. Now they're saying they need to get rid of cows, okay? Because we shouldn't be eating meat, okay? We shouldn't be eating meat, and they need to get rid of cows. And so they're starting to kill off cows and other animals as well. But, now they're saying that, we shouldn't be eating meat. And now they're trying to make fake meat in laboratories, okay? And put put the kibosh on having, your barbecue, or, your family barbecue, or you having your filet mignon steak, or whatever. That seems to be almost a thing of the past. I mean, it will be if they keep this up. So this is a quickening to the point of ridiculousness, okay? And those of us that are centered in the heart, like I say, that's the only way you're going to ground yourself and survive this shit, is staying in that heart center. But I agree with, all the things that people commented on. They're my listeners are not stupid. A lot of them are very, very tuned in, okay? I hope that I might have something to do with that, but some people are just tuned in naturally that way anyway. But I'm here as a voice in the wilderness, and I'm crying out, and I'm giving you information. I consider it a purpose, but I mean, people have to know what's going on here. It's way beyond all these political games and the politics and Trump and RFK Jr., Bobby Kennedy Jr., and the war in Ukraine, and all this stuff. All these distractions are just that, distractions. Now, having said that, there is a war going on in higher places. There is an element that doesn't want this to happen, and there's an element that is, and this is age old, there's an element that wants the destruction of humanity, and then there's an element that doesn't. I don't care what you call it. All you got to know is that there's weird shit going on, and it's evident by just looking around and noticing the things that I'm talking about here. All right. So let's hope for the best here. Let's keep the dialogue going. Let's keep the comments going. This filters into all areas of life. This filters into the projection of reality, that what you perceive as real or not real. And they cannot, these radio waves can also make you feel like you're going nuts, okay? Like you might have one thought 1 minute and another thought the next minute, and it's insidious what these people do. So you have to retreat into your heart center, and you have to call upon the Christ consciousness, okay, or the light, okay, and see how far, what kind of protection you can get. Now you can also take other methods. I'm wearing around my neck today a little protection against electromagnetic frequencies. On one side you got Metatron star, and on the other side you got a coil in there, kind of like a, kind of hard to see here, but there's a coil, a copper coil, and there's some different minerals in there that protect you against radio waves. And there's another stone I'm thinking of. It's a black stone, and I can't remember the name. Somethingite. It comes from Russia, actually. It's a black stone. It's a from a meteor, and I have several necklaces of that. I'll look that up. I'll put it in the show notes. Can't remember the name of it right now. You can use that to repel electromagnetic frequencies and higher frequencies, dangerous frequencies. It's almost like a protection. It is a protection. You can use crystals. There's other ways to protect yourself. The basic way to protect yourself is go into the heart center, and another way is to increase your frequency and your vibration so that you're almost, not almost, you're other dimensional or in another reality, pulling out of this reality. These people are smart, but they're not smart enough. It's going to backfire on them. I would suggest a collective consciousness that not only protects but repels and strikes back, sends it right back to where these people are coming from. But it's rough right now, okay? And that's why I said in my last video, that's why I said we're in the Great Tribulation here. I also like the comments in the last video about going to Middle Earth or Virginia or something. I think that was nice. I wrote back, make me an offer I can't refuse, because I'm open to relocating. I've been looking, and there's other viewers on here, like Donna and others, that have mentioned places in that same area. My son lives in Tennessee, so. And then there's places like Spruce Pine, I think it is, in Carolina, which looks like a nice, almost like a Middle Earth place. I don't know, I'm open to all kinds of suggestions in that regard. And so I guess I'll just leave it there today. I just wanted to get back in kind of a chat mode here. There's so many other things that we could talk about that are going on here on psychological levels and programming through internet and everything, Anybody else has any questions or thoughts, please leave it in the comment section below. So this is Roger Thunder. I'm going to leave it there today. Adios.